If you're tired of plain, boring, generic quilt labels, you are in the right place. In this video, I'm going to show you how to design and customize quilt labels to suit your personal taste and to fit your exact specifications, and we're going to do all of it in Canva. Now, right at the beginning, I want to assure you that you do not have to spend any money to use Canva. There is a great free account that has a lot of good stuff you can use. There is also a paid account that gives you even more assets, fonts, and designs. But everything that I'm going to show you today can be done with the free account because that is the account that I have. I'm not going to assume that everyone has used Canva before, so I'm going to go over the basics real quick. I'm not going to go in depth for each feature, but I want to give sort of a quick tour for anyone who might feel overwhelmed by a new program. If you are familiar with Canva though, I encourage you to use the chapters in this video to skip around. Or you could even just skip to the description of this video to access the free template that I'm going to include. So first things first, let's create a document. So over here on this sidebar, hit the plus button. Then you'll see there's lots of different types of documents that you could do. We are going to do a print document because we want to print these eventually. So for the US, we will want 8.5 by 11. If you are outside of the US, you can look for an A4 document. And if for whatever reason you're not finding the size that you want, you can come down here to custom size and you can put in exactly what you want. Just make sure to change the units because you don't need an 8.5 pixel by 11 pixel document. That would be crazy. So here you go, down here. But let's go back to print and I'm going to select flyer. Now when I am designing a quilt label, I generally have a size in mind, a specific size. You could also just divide up the page so you can use it as efficiently as possible, but generally I'm looking for a specific size. So I will go over here to elements and then search for rectangle. If I don't have rectangle as an option here, I can write it into this box up here. And then I'm going to go down to shapes, not graphics, because shapes are so much easier to scale. They have these little bars on each side and I can just drag them to whatever size I want, which I can't necessarily do with graphics. Usually with graphics you can just scale this way. Okay, so let's say I want to do a specific size. I can drag to, let's say, 3 inches wide. You see the number changing down there? I can do that. Or I can have the object selected and go to position up here. And then right down here under advanced we have width and height. So let's change this to 4 inches wide. And then let's say 3 inches high. Okay, and that would be the size of my label. Now obviously I don't want my label to be all black, so I need to remove the fill. That's the color here. So you see the box is still selected. It has these purple lines around it. It's selected, and I come up to color and I click on that circle, and then I have a color menu pop up and I want to choose this one here. It has a checkerboard and a red line, and it means that my box is now transparent. And if I unclick it, you can see it is invisible. You can't see it. So I need to add a stroke. And that's right by the color. So here's the color, and this is the stroke. And I'm just going to use a plain line. You could use the dotted and dashed if you want, but I'm going to use the plain. And then I like a fainter line, so I'm going to knock this down to a stroke weight of 1. And this is what I have. This is my label. Now when I am filling up the page, I don't want to have each label butted up against each other because I need a seam allowance. So I'm going to make another box using this duplicate button here. Looks like 2 pages and one has a plus sign on it. Okay, so this is duplicated. So this is going to represent my seam allowance. And generally I like to have 1/2 inch from this line around the whole thing. So I'm going to have my seam allowance box selected. I'm going to go to position again, and I'm just going to add 1 inch to the width and the height. So it'll be 5 by 4. So I can drag to center them, and you can see there's the guideline going down the center, and if I drag a little bit more, there's the other guideline, so it's perfectly centered. But if I don't want to do that, if I don't want to eyeball it, I can drag a box. I'm left clicking, I'm dragging a box to select both objects, and then I'm going to use the position panel again and center them like that. So now I have my seam allowance and the actual size of my quilt label, and so I don't want them to get separated, so I'm going to select them again, and then I'm going to group them. And you could also do this by hitting Control G. So now I can't ever select just one of them. I'm going to select the group. And if for any reason I want to change anything, I can just select the group and hit ungroup, and then they're separate again. Okay? So let's reposition them, recenter, and group. So this is the framework for my first label, but let's go over a few more features that Canva has. So let's get, I don't know, let's look up hearts. Okay, and I'll choose a graphic this time. And how about I just use this one? Oh, and another thing to keep an eye out for is this little crown symbol. Anytime you see that, that means that it is a premium asset. So you need Canva Pro, or if you hover over it, it'll tell you that you can use it for if you pay $1 plus tax for a pro content license. And I do not do that. I have never done that. I make do with the free stuff. So let's scale this down because we're going to be working on a much smaller scale. And then you know what? Let's also zoom in. So let's get a little closer here. I can do that by using this slide here. I can slide, or I can click here and choose a specific number. Okay, so whichever is more comfortable for you. And then let's duplicate these. So I have 3 hearts, okay? And let's say I want them to be evenly separated, but I'm not quite eyeballing it correctly. There is a good guide. You can see the purple lines. They indicate that they are centered. And then you can see the purple numbers down there. The space between each heart is 0.624, and it just sort of snaps into place. It's really helpful. Love that. But what if you are having a hard time getting it just right? You can select all 3 objects, go back to the position, and then when you have multiple objects like this, you get this category here, the space evenly. So we have the vertically, horizontally, and then just to tidy up. And that's the one I use like 100% of the time practically. So did you see how it was off center? I hit the tidy up, and then boom, it's perfectly aligned to each other with nice even spacing. So everything's tidy. What if you accidentally bump something? The quickest way to fix that is Control Z right there. Or you can use the undo button up here. And then, wait, I actually kind of liked how it was. The redo button, or Control Shift Z. Okay, let's make a couple more of these. I shrunk them down a little bit so more would fit on the page. And let's say you want these to stay in place. You don't want them to move at all because you want to be able to add and subtract things without worrying about accidentally moving these groups or changing them in any way. So what you can do is you can lock them in place. So there's this lock button right here. And so they will still show up on here. You can still select them, but you can't do anything with them. They are going to be stuck on here. So that way you can add whatever you want over the top. Just put a bunch of hearts. Okay, and you can select those hearts and you can move those without getting the boxes caught up in your selection. And you can also see here, this is what a premium item or asset or whatever you want to call it looks like. It has a watermark on it. So you can put it in your document, but it's going to print with that watermark, or it might not let you print at all. I'm not sure which one. Another way that you can select is you can have one thing selected, hold your shift key, and then click on whatever you want to add to the selection. So if you have a bunch of things here, but you only want to do these 3, you can be more precise with it. Now let's talk about the content of your quilt labels. An informational label could include who the quilt was made for, who it was made by, and a date. I think that's probably bare minimum, but you could also include anything else that you feel is important for like tracking the history of the quilt. So the location, the name of the pattern designer, and my personal favorite, you could also include a personal message to the recipient, like happy birthday, or congratulations graduate, or best wishes on your special day. Or you could include something really sappy like wherever you go, my love goes to, or something like that. You could also have a tag that has no information and it just has like a quote or a witty saying or an inside joke or maybe a classic made with love label. That's pretty popular. Or you could do a decorative tag that really doesn't serve any purpose but to just complement the theme of your quilt. So if your quilt had like an ocean theme, you might want to add a seashell or a seagull or a whale or something like that. So let's go over some of the text tools. So we're going to go right down here, right below the elements where we got our graphics and shapes. And we'll use the add a text box right here. And you can see it's very, very small. You could, if you wanted to go bigger, add a heading or add a subheading, and then you'd get bigger options. But for now, let's do add a text box, and we're going to click on that. And let's move it up here and then zoom in. So if you're wondering how to move around if you zoom in a lot, there is a little bar right here. And there's a bar on the side right here. Okay, so let's look at some of our text options. First things first, and I think the most fun thing to play around with is font. So if you scroll down, you can see recommended fonts. These are what people use a lot, I guess. If you use Canva a lot, you'll have your recently used fonts. Brand Kit is like a saved font. I think you can upload fonts if you have Canva Pro. But let's think about styles. So here are some popular styles already populated that you can just click on and search around. So let's do handwriting because that would be good for certain kinds of labels. And then let's do this one. It looks very informal. Then you could go way formal with this sort of calligraphy looking one. You can change the size of your font by dragging like from the corner like that, or you can be more precise and use this little thing right here, 16 or 24 or whatever you want. I think most of the time I make sure it is above 12, but I usually adjust it with the little slidey thing. So that's handwriting. You could also choose, let's go with retro. So you can just click through as you go, have your text highlighted, and you can try out all sorts of different things. I really like that one though, it's fun. You could also do, what about sci-fi? Oh, no, they don't like that. Does space help? Oh, a space helps a lot. Okay. So you could definitely customize this to your personal preferences or to your recipient's preferences or to the theme of your quilt. Again, is a good way to make that decision. And you'll notice over here that we have some fonts in black and some in gray. And the gray ones are the ones that are Canva Pro. You can't use them. So you'll get this little message here. So there definitely are cool ones in Canva Pro, but there is really a lot to choose from with the free version. So let's choose DM Serif Display here. And then we can just type in whatever category we want. So made for, and then I'll probably want a made by. And how about a date? Whoops. Just do a quick Control Z. Let's do location. And don't hit return because that'll just keep you in the same box and it's going to be hard to move things around. You want to keep making copies. How about date? Okay, so here are my categories. I could move them around by hand if I wanted to and try to get them all neat that way, but I really prefer to use the positions. So for this case, I want to line things up on the left-hand side, so I'll use left here. And then let's say I want to spread them out evenly within this box. So I'll move that one down and then highlight all four, and I'll use tidy up to get them spaced evenly, and then I'll use left again to get them aligned to the side. Now let's fill these in. So let's say this is made for Johann Sebastian. And it was made by Mary Ellen in North Dakota. Actually, in Fargo, North Dakota. And then the date was September 29th. 1918. And as you can see, all of that alignment and tidying went completely out the window. So there's a lesson for you. Make sure you have your boxes filled out however you want them before you start moving them around. So what I'm going to do is I don't want 1918 to be on a separate line. So I'm going to take this box and drag it until it's on the same line. You do the same thing for Fargo, North Dakota. And I'm also going to select each box and make sure it is aligned to the left and not the center. And then I can go left align, and then I can scoot it over into my box. Another thing you can do is you can change the color of your font, but I would not recommend this for quilt labels because the colored ink washes out. It doesn't stay like the black ink does. So stick with black for like every single detail on here. If you're going to include a graphic like this, you're going to want to change it to black if you can. And some graphics won't let you. Okay, so keep everything black. Okay, there's just a few more text options that you can do. We have a bold sometimes. There's italics, underline. This is all caps. You could even make this into 2 text boxes instead of 1 and have the made for be in all caps, and then the Johann Sebastian could be in regular uppercase, lowercase. This is alignment. This is list. And then last of all, I think what we're going to cover for text is the spacing. So this is letter spacing. So this is how much space is between each letter. You can make them really close. You can make them really far away. Some handwriting fonts, you need to get the spacing just right to make it so that everything links up correctly. And then here is line spacing, and this is more to do if you have multiple lines. So let's say Fargo, North Dakota, United States of America. So let's change the line spacing. So you go here and you can see you can make them farther away or closer together. And of course, this is definitely personal opinion, but really try to go for legibility. Oh, there's also another fun thing you can mess around with. So highlight your text box and then go to effects. And you can see there's a bunch of different ways you can use this. Like they won't necessarily help with legibility, but they're fun to play around with. But some of them you definitely won't be able to print well, like these ones. They will not work well. But down here is curve, and this you can use this for some fun things. You adjust the amount of curve with this little slider bar, like so. So that could be a lot of fun. Okay, and then if you do not like what you've done, just go like that. Now let's say you've gotten everything the way you want it. You've added your graphics, you've found your perfect font, you've arranged things how you want. You're going to want to download it. So you'll go up here to share, go to download, and then for your file type, I suggest using PDF print. And then I don't think I would change anything else for this specific document, but if you had multiple pages and you just wanted to do one, there will be an option somewhere around here where you can say just do page 2, just do page 3, do 3 through 5, whatever it is. And then after you have chosen everything, you'll hit download and your document will be downloaded right into your download folder, and then you can print from there. Now, I don't know about you, but I am most definitely not a graphic designer, so I sometimes have a hard time coming up with the designs that I'm happy with, just right off the top of my head. So luckily, Canva has a ton of really great templates to get inspiration from. So let's leave this document behind. You can tell it's saved with this little icon right here. So all changes saved, so you don't have to worry about losing what you've worked on. We're gonna go back to the home page, and then we're gonna go down to templates. So there's a lot to look through here, and a couple fun ones to look at are logo, flyer sometimes. You can search something up here, like maybe you want to do gift card. And look at the very first thing that comes up. How cute is that? I like the little squiggly thing in here. I like the ribbons behind it. You can see it has the crown thing here, so that is a Canva Pro thing, but you can definitely get ideas from it, right? Even if you can't use it. Let's scroll down a little bit more. So I like the lines for this one. You could do made for, made by, the date, or up here you could put the name of the recipient and then use different titles down here. You can also see if certain elements are jumping out at you, or maybe certain fonts. You could click through and see what font they're using. I think logos are cool because they're very minimal. So maybe you want to do the recipient's name in a more stylized way, and then you can do a list of the more basic information. Or vice versa. Maybe you could use this as a signature and then fill out the information in a different way. Oh, look at this, how that swoops through. I like that. Another wavy border, that's cool. Oh, this would be perfect for my mom. She loves bees. So if you find one that is not a Canva Pro document, you can open it up. So you could click on here and you could see what the font is, which is like Roboto condensed. You could take this bee graphic into your document. So I'll show you how to do that. So you want your document open in one tab up above, and then you're going to take the bee from this one. So you'll just click on it and go copy, or you could do Control-C. So now you have that bumblebee on your clipboard, and go back to your design and then hit Control-V, or you could right click and click paste, and then your bee is in your document. How cute is that? I love this bee. Once you open a document like this, it's going to be saved in your projects tab, so you're not going to lose it. But I would recommend that you change the title just to keep things neat, so that you can refer back to it easily later on. So let's go back to browsing, and let's just type in labels and see what they have already on here. Oh wait, I'm still in logos. So I can close out of logos, and now I'm in just regular labels. And look at this, I like this. You could add some stuff onto that. I like this shape a lot. Oh, look at this one. You could really customize this one a lot. This might be a good tag. You could do made by, made for, and then the date and location down here, and a little message at that bottom box. So there's really a ton. Oh, this would be a good one. This one's free too. There's a lot of different ways you could customize that. This could be a good label. Oh, and this one is good too. You could customize the graphic and also all of the text. So really a ton of inspiration here. And I also like that you can change styles. So let's say they are very playful. Let's go with playful. It looks like playful means colorful, which might be hard to stick with black and white, but oh, look at this one. That is a playful one. That could be a cool label. This one would be fun for a space lover. This could be easily black and white. Maybe you wouldn't have the green background, but you could have these little shapes around it like that. Oh, I like this. Sometimes you make a quilt as a thank you. This would be a great way to do that. So thank you, and then you could say, for mowing my yard when my mower broke, or something, you know? So don't be afraid to try things out. Try to figure out what is appealing to you, and then open them up and just play around with them, because you're going to learn things. You're going to find things that speak to you. You're going to get new ideas. You're going to find the fonts that you like. So this font is Anonymous Pro, and you'll find that this isn't a font. This is actually a graphic. And this is actually a pretty cool graphic because you can change a bunch of different colors to really personalize, although it really won't help you for quilt labels because you need to keep it black. You might remember that at the beginning of this video I mentioned a template that I was going to share, and this is it. It's a little mishmash, and there are several pages, but the first one is sort of like a bare bones guideline. So there are several categories that you might want to include on your tag, and then there are these guidelines for, I think it was a 3x4 label, and then the seam allowance. And I basically just filled in as much as I could to have a very efficient use of the page. And then at the bottom there's this long one for just like a phrase or something. Maybe you could put in a nickname or a quick little blurb, something that would be special to them. And then these are a couple different labels that I mocked up. So you can see I like really big, bold names, and then maybe a little bit smaller details here. And I don't include a ton of information. So I don't generally include the pattern name or who designed it because I don't think that's important to my recipient. But maybe if I'm giving a gift to another quilter, I would include that. So I have the date and the location and who it's for and who it's by. And then I really like this note one because you can put a bunch on here. So you have the date up here, and then there's plenty of room for a nice long personal message or a bunch of extra information. You can get really detailed. You could like talk about the fabric even. So there's a lot of room for that. And then here's another long one. And then I have a duplicate of it here just to show you as a reminder that you can remove the outer border. You don't need to print that border. But you can also see how easy it would be to accidentally get things a little bit too close, and then when you print you wouldn't have enough fabric in the seam allowance to make it work. And then the last page is just all of the notepads, and I love this one because for one, it has all the space, but also you could fill in everything on the computer like this, or you could just fill in the categories and make a whole page, just the categories, and then you can fill them in one at a time as you use them up. So don't even put in the date. You can fill that in by hand too. You can write a personalized message, or you can have it just blank like this and fill everything in by hand. Or maybe it's just a personal note and it doesn't have a bunch of informational stuff. So very, very useful. So I'm going to include a link to this document in the video description if you're interested, but please, please, please make your own copy before you make any changes, because this link is for everyone to use. That means if you make a change on the original, everyone's going to see it. They're going to see that this is for your grandmother for her birthday, or for your nephew because he's been potty trained. They're going to see your name. So make your own private copy, close the template copy so you don't accidentally make any changes, and then you can maintain your privacy and do whatever you want with your personal copy. If you don't know how to print on fabric, I'm going to direct you to this video here. The link is going to be in the description of this video. Or if you want to take the much easier road, you can buy some prepared printable fabric, and I will also leave links for that in the description of this video. It's going to save you time, but it will be more expensive. So you can watch that video or get that paper, but I also want to share just a couple quick tips. First of all, I've already said it, I'm going to say it again, only use black ink. Also, you can only print on fabric with an inkjet printer. A laser printer will not work. If you're using the freezer paper and fabric method, make sure there is a really good, strong bond. It's really stuck down well so you don't mess up your printer. Because if it's not fully stuck together, it can come loose in your printer and mess things up, and you don't want that. I also recommend that you always make a test copy on regular paper, because sometimes we see errors that we miss on the computer much more easily when it's on like a physical product right in front of our face. So you could save a lot of time and money if you make a proof copy. And finally, you want to make sure to figure out which orientation to load your paper in so that you print on the right side. So for my printer, I need to load the paper in with the fabric side down to have it printed on the fabric and not on the freezer paper. Okay, let's head on over to my sewing room so I can show you a few different ways to finish your labels. So here is my little mini quilt sandwich. I did some really basic wiggly quilt lines, and I didn't finish the edges at all because I don't want to bind if I don't have to. When I'm printing labels, my general rule is I just find something that's neutral and light and would not be too distracting. So this has a little bit of blue and a little bit of modeling, but it's enough, that's what I used here, that it doesn't distract from any of the details. I think that these light labels really pop well off of a dark background, so I don't use a lot of extra finishing details. I'll just sew them down. So for this label here, I just cut 1/2 inch away from my border line, and then I folded the fabric under, and then I just did my classic whip stitch and sewed that down. But you can see the blue helps distract a little bit, but you can see that the background fabric is popping through a little bit, but I don't think it's distracting, and I actually sort of like it. But if you don't like it, you can do something like this where you put a piece of batting behind it to obscure the background print, but also makes it a little bit fluffier, which is fun. When I'm adding a light label like this to a light background, I do like to add something to make it pop more. So in this case, I did the same thing that I did with this one. I just cut it 1/2 inch away from there, tucked it under, and I sewed it onto this accent fabric. And then I did the same thing again. I tucked the fabric under, made an applique patch, and sewed it down. But for this one up here, I cut a slight 1/4 inch all around, and then I sewed it onto the fabric with my sewing machine. So you can see there are seams here, and then I folded these edges under and made an applique patch and then sewed that down by hand. I think this is probably my favorite one. And again, you can see through this top fabric to the fabric underneath, but I like it. It gives it a little bit of extra interest. I'm sure there are certain fabrics that it would not look nice on and it might actually be too distracting, but in this case, just a little bit of extra visual texture. And I'm sure there are many, many, many more ways to go about attaching your labels, but I like to be fairly simple with these. Please let me know down in the comment section if you have any other suggestions on how to attach these labels, because I'm always willing to try something new, especially if someone has done it already and they give me some tips to make sure that I am successful too. Thanks for spending time with me today, quilters. If you want to support this channel and help me buy supplies and materials for future videos, please visit my Buy Me a Coffee page linked in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss upcoming videos. And I'll see you again real soon. Bye!